There's another major escalation in the crisis in Ukraine to tell you about tonight. Ukrainian forces say they have destroyed a large number of Russian military vehicles that crossed the border into eastern Ukraine overnight. Russia calls those reports some kind of fantasy. The Kremlin says the vehicles are still on Russian soil. Figuring out where the truth lies has never been easy in this conflict. And as Mandy Clark reports, no one can predict Russia's next move.
23 Russian armored vehicles and medical support trucks were reported to have entered into Ukrainian territory at dusk last night. Kiev says it tracked the convoy and its artillery destroyed part of the column. In Brussels, European foreign ministers held an emergency meeting.
If there are any Russian military personnel or vehicles in eastern Ukraine, they need to be withdrawn immediately or the consequences could be very serious.
We deplore the escalations that Putin has engaged in, and we're pleased that there's a growing sentiment that we've got to step up our response to these provocations. It's unacceptable in 2014 for one leader in the Kremlin to try to redraw the borders of Europe.
Britain has called on the Russian ambassador to clarify the situation, and European ministers warn if the incursion did happen, it is a blatant violation of international law.
This is the most serious European security crisis in 20 years. I think Putin sees a chance to try and rewrite the rules.
As for the Russian aid convoy, it remains sat near the Ukrainian border. Earlier, Kiev and Moscow had come to an agreement on what to do with it.
The trucks will be checked by the custom officers of Ukraine on Russian territory and then allowed inside Ukraine with ICRC people accompanying the convoy.
Kiev says it has sent dozens of its own trucks filled with humanitarian aid to eastern Ukraine. It also sent a warning to Russia. Russia is responsible for any potential provocations by terrorists during the humanitarian mission, he said. The fighting between Ukrainian forces and pro-Russian rebels has only intensified in recent weeks. Kiev says its forces regained control over an eastern city from pro-Russia separatists. Over 2,000 people have died in the fighting, and 250,000 people have fled their homes. But there's another looming worry. Russian troops have massed on the border. The fear is they may be part of something much greater than today's reported incursion. Mandy Clark, Global News, London.